Hello, this is English in more than 3 minutes because unfortunately we need quite a few minutes to explain something that is the biggest fear of many people, and it's okay that it is so because phrasal verbs are like monsters in the English language. This is mainly because this kind of construction doesn't exist in most languages, in no language that I know of, and they cause fear. But also, there are many myths about phrasal verbs. What do we mean by myths? There are things said that are not correct. So we're going to debunk myths, destroy the myths by clarifying and explaining things in a way that is understandable. Let's begin by looking at the main question, the million-dollar question. What is a phrasal verb? Well, phrasal verbs are constructions of things that belong together, they work together. And different from what many people say, even books, some websites, and many teachers, phrasal verbs are not just a verb plus a preposition. A verb plus a preposition, it sounds too simple. Oh, but they are a verb plus a preposition. Oh yeah? Let's look at an example or two. We get, I am listening to music. She ran around the corner. I am listening to music is a verb plus a preposition. She ran around the corner is a verb or has a verb plus a preposition. But they are not phrasal verbs. What is the verb here in I am listening to music? What is the verb here in she ran around the corner? Well, the verb in the first one is listen, listening. I am listening to music. And in she ran around the corner, the verb is run. She ran around the corner. So, analyzing this, we see that in I am listening to music, the verb is listen, and to is a preposition that inserts the object in a way. Yes, I am listening to music. This always needs to. That is, the verb listen is always used, or it always appears with the preposition to and something. In a similar way, in the example she ran around the corner, she ran, the verb is run, and around the corner is a complement, is where she went, where she ran, and it's the complement, around the corner, headed by the preposition around. They are not phrasal verbs. So with this, we get the first myth destroyed. We get the first myth debunked. A verb plus a preposition do not make a phrasal verb. Now, many people say, I don't want to study grammar. Well, you may not study, but you need to understand. Let's go over in more detail. A phrasal verb is a meaningful unit. That means is something made up of more than one part, and it has a meaning as a unit. So, it has a meaning as a unit of its own. It works together in meaning. Sometimes they can be separated, and we're going to see that. But these parts have a meaning that is made up of the two or sometimes three units that compose the phrasal verb. It's a phrase that has a meaning of a verb. And it may mean something different from the sum of its part. Sometimes considerably different. So we will see in some examples, and you have seen them, I'm sure, examples that have phrasal verbs, and the meaning of the phrasal verb of this unit of meaning of these phrases is different from only the verb plus something else. Let's consider the following. I am looking into the box. We say, we have a phrasal verb, we have a verb plus a preposition. Well, no, because in I am looking into the box, you are looking, and you are looking into inside a place, into the box. That is the verb to look, plus where you're looking, where you're directing your eyes, your sight. You are looking into the box. You're not looking into the box. There is no phrasal verb here. If we take another example, such as the police are looking into the crime. They are looking into the crime. They are not watching. The police are looking into the crime contains a phrasal verb. It contains looking into. So they are not looking inside. They are investigating. In this way, we understand that look into is a phrasal verb, meaning investigate. Oh, so look into is one thing only. Yes, Sherlock, that is a phrasal verb. So, considering that is a phrasal verb because it has a unity of meaning, look into means investigate, we get an idea of what a phrasal verb is. It's a composition, it's a composed phrase of more than one word, a verb plus a particle, something else. We call it a particle because it's a part. It can be, yes, it can be a preposition sometimes. It is argued by many people, but it is actually something that comes with the verb and completes its meaning and generally adds meaning and sometimes, not few times, completes a meaning that turns the phrase into something completely different. So a phrasal verb has a meaning of its own, not necessarily, not always, the meaning of the verb that is a part of the construction. It has a meaning of its own. Let's move on. I got tickets for the movie. I got up at 8 o'clock. I got tickets for the movie is that you got something and you got up at 8 o'clock. Means that you did something at 8 o'clock. So I got tickets for the movie, which is the verb to get, like obtain, someone gave them to you, you bought them, versus I got up at 8 o'clock. That means I left my bed. I came out of bed. I removed myself from bed. We see that in these two cases, the meaning is quite different. I mean, the meaning of the verb get. So, get up is a phrasal verb made up, yes, by the compounding of get plus up, getting in this way a new meaning, and in this case it is pretty different. You see, in examples as simple as these two, and as common and that everyone understands and uses with no problem at all, that got is a one-word verb and got up is a two-word verb. That's why they are called also multi-word verbs, phrasal verbs. Get up has a new meaning of its own, and this meaning is different from the verb to get. There may be a connection with it, but definitely they are different verbs. And phrasal verbs are to be treated, they need to be considered as verbs. They are different kinds of verbs, but they are verbs from the English language. In this way, we have clearly seen that got up, that is the verb get up, in its past form for this example, is a phrasal verb and not get. Now another big question, and this was the beginning of my thinking about this and how I decided to put up a video class for this, is that I was we were studying with one of my students about separable and non-separable phrasal verbs. The problem is that maybe she was not completely sure of what this thing of a phrasal verb is. That's why I decided to start with this explanation. Now, separable or non-separable phrasal verbs? Well, this is really a very valid question, because we will see that sometimes these parts are separated or can be separated, and sometimes they cannot. and they will not. If we look at some school books, they say, oh, it is just like do this and don't do that, or these verbs can be separated, and they give you examples, and these verbs, cannot be separated. Well, I don't need to be a genius to understand that some can and some cannot. This is just a statement. But what is behind that? So, we are not geniuses, and they are not geniuses by saying some of them can and some of them cannot. On the other hand, there are some grammars that say, well, there is a way to understand that, and they go like un verbo de esa manera a las 3 de la madrugada, dependiendo de la humedad ambiente y de la constante del cuadrado de la hipotenusa, podrá ser, dependiendo de la luna de Marte, separable o no separable, porque, and then they give much information and we are not prepared for that. Okay, it may be a little of our lack of studying. Yes, we need to get down and study, but let's try to make it less impossible. Let's go back to the question. Are they separable or non-separable? First of all, we need to understand that phrasal verbs, just like any other verb, may be transitive. To make it simple, they may need an object. As say, someone broke the window. The window is the object because something was broken. Someone broke something. Yes, you get the message? Some verbs may need an object. For example, in I got up at 8 o'clock, we have a verb, in this case a phrasal verb, which is what we're studying, and we have I got up at 8 o'clock. At 8 o'clock is not something that you got up. You got up at 8 o'clock. So that is not an object. So this verb is not transitive. This verb doesn't require an object to complete its function. When you say something like, I put up my hand, the hand is what you put up in class, for example. So that looks like an object. Yes, that is an object. So this is how we're going to discover whether a verb takes an object or not. Again, it may be a one-word verb, or it may be a phrasal verb that may have 2 or 3 parts. That is, a combination of words that have a unit of meaning. And it, just like a single-word verb, like a one-word verb, may need an object to complete its meaning and its functioning. I put my hand up. So here we can separate it. Let's see, let's go step by step. But here, apparently, this object that is initially after the verb, I put up my hand, can be in between the parts of put up, the phrasal verb. So here we get, I put my hand up. Yes, this can be done because this verb is separable and because what you're going to put in between the 2 parts of the verb is small enough. I'm making it very simple. If you go to the grammars, you will see the names and the tags for all of these. But basically, my hand is small enough so that it can be placed, it can be put in between the parts of the phrasal verb. Put up. Similarly, when you have a pronoun form replacing, substituting my hand in this case, it will be it. And you have to, in this case you have to put it in between the parts of a phrasal verb, because this is the pronoun form of the object. This object, which is my hand, becomes it, and you will have to put it in between the parts of a phrasal verb when it is separable. Let's now go over another example. We have an example such as, please turn down the volume. Please turn down the volume. Turn down is not just turning, because you can do it like this, you can do it like this. Turn down the volume. The volume is too high, it is too loud. So I may ask you, please turn down the volume. In this case we have the verb, which is a phrasal verb, turn down, and the volume, which is the object. So we can try and separate the parts, because this phrasal verb, turn down, is separable. Please turn the volume down. Again, because it is small enough, it fits in between the parts of a verb turn down. And if you substitute it for the pronoun form that will be in place of it, you will have please turn it down, because it substitutes the volume. And remember, in this case, you have to put the pronoun form in between the parts of the separated phrasal verb. So we have separable phrasal verbs, like I put up my hand, that can be turned into I put my hand up, or I put it up. We have non-separable phrasal verbs, like someone tried to break into the store. This is very, very interesting, because break and break into have something in common. Of course, if someone tries to enter by force or enter illegally, forcing their way into the store, for example, we will say break into. And break into retains, it still has the meaning of breaking, because generally someone will break the lock, the door, a window. Yes, like when a burglar breaks into a house, they will break a window, they will crack the door open, they will force and violate the lock. So break into, in a way, retains the meaning of breaking in some sort of way. Now, break into has a unity of meaning. Remember, break plus into, put together, make up a phrasal verb, which is to legally enter by force or another mean that shouldn't be so. We have break into the store. In this case, because this verb is non-separable or inseparable, you cannot say something like someone tried to break the store into, because this verb is inseparable, so you leave it as it is. The fact that it cannot be separated, the fact that it is a non-separable phrasal verb, shows us something. It brings us back to a notion that we saw at the beginning. Break into is one thing with its own meaning. It has unity of meaning. So if we continue to think that it is just a verb plus a preposition, we are wrong, because it's one thing, it's a phrasal verb. So remember, it is not a verb plus a preposition, and this is a myth debunked. Let's move on now. We have separable phrasal verbs, such as take back, call off, kick out. For example, you say something that is not nice. You said something unkind or that was wrong. So you may say, I take back what I said to you earlier, or simply, I take it back. You may cancel a meeting, a class for example. So you call off the class. You call the class off, or you call it off. Someone kicks out, makes someone leave in a forceful way, supposing someone who is disrupting and by their regulations and norms can be expelled from the place. So he was kicked out from the meeting. Someone kicked him out from the meeting. You see that it works as a separable phrasal verbs. A phrasal verb that can be separated. We have the non-separable phrasal verbs. For example, look after. You know, look after, like take care of someone. When you watch the kids, or you look after someone who is ill or very, very old, you look after my grandmother. You cannot say, I'm looking your grandmother after. You have to say, I'm looking after your grandmother. The same as with check-in, as when you check in bags or check into a hotel. You cannot say also, you cannot say check the hotel into. That's a tip. Usually with into, we have non-separable phrasal verbs. And finally, we have a third case, which also is non-separable, which is a phrasal prepositional verb. Oh, a phrasal prepositional verb is a three-word construction. It's a three-word verb that has a verb, a particle, and a preposition at the end. And that is why it is called a phrasal prepositional verb. For example, run out of, keep up with. Run out of, as in, you used to have a lot of sugar at home, and now there is very little left. There is not anymore a lot of sugar, and you use and you like sugar. So you think, I'm running out of sugar. There is nothing in common with running out of a place. You are running out of something, meaning that the stock of that something is getting lower and lower, and soon there will be no more of it. So we get a phrasal prepositional verb, a multi-word phrase, a multi-word verb made up of three parts, which are the verb run, which actually loses its meaning, the particle out, and the preposition of. So you run out of something, or you are running out of something, or you ran out of something, so there is no more already. I'm running out of sugar. I cannot say something like, I'm running out sugar of, I'm running sugar out of, I'm running off sugar out. It makes no sense at all. It has no meaning, and it is basically wrong. So you say, I'm running out of sugar. I'm running out of time. Time is running out. Yes, time is getting short. I had more time, now I have very little. So I'm running out of time. We had to stop because we were running out of time. Or we stopped because we ran out of time. There was no more time left. Similarly, a construction, a phrasal prepositional verb, such as keep up with. You know when there's a lot of things to do and you try to, but you cannot get up to the level. So it's hard to keep up with it. You cannot say it's hard to keep with it up. It's hard to think about that because it really makes no sense. So you always keep up with something. Keep up with the lessons, keep up with the course, keep up with the homework. So that is a non-separable phrasal prepositional verb. So finally, I hope I have made it easier for you. And summarizing, we have seen a number of items, a number of things about phrasal verbs today. We have seen what is a phrasal verb. We have tried to discover together what this feared thing is, what this combination of words is that is pretty common in the English language, in all kinds of English language. It doesn't matter what variety, what accent. Then, can its parts be separated? And we started by seeing, yes, but what does it mean that they can be separated? And yes, and when, and no, and when. And when and how they can be separated. Of course, for more detail, you can go into a well-constructed grammar of the language that is clarifying and gives you more examples of all this, and you can continue learning and practicing. Yes? So now it is your turn. Now it is your time to sit down and practice. Thank you very, very much. And until the next one with English in more than 3 minutes. Bye-bye.